Hey, it's Dave Worden with Triumph Business Solutions. If you're a business owner and you saw my video yesterday, or maybe you didn't see my video yesterday about, I was commented on by somebody in alternative funding about why our system, our methodology with Profit First and across the Profit First Nation is bad for business owners who are trying to get alternative funding. Which I thought was asinine because alternative funding means high interest. Alternative funding means you're giving away more of your cash flow, which is obviously the detriment to your business, considering 82% of business owners who fail typically fail because of lack of cash flow. And yes, temporarily there are, and I said in the video yesterday, there is a small potential need for alternative funding options when there's a potential return on investment, ROI. However, many business owners who go and look for alternative funding do it when there is no ROI, right? They're trying to catch up on things that have already happened, already occurred. They're not looking for that return. They're just trying to save face and keep moving forward. And so I thought it was kind of funny that I was responded to and saying how our system isn't going to work because it's bad for their clients. Okay, good. Because as I said in the video yesterday, I want it to be bad for your clients because I don't want you to have any clients for 95% of your cases when they should be setting it up using the proper methodology and proper system. And so in this video, I just we happened to be shared an actual right article that they happen to write now attacking the same methodology. So what I wanted to do is kind of walk through that and kind of give my feedback on this. So it's over on LinkedIn. Talked about the profit trap and why the 5 account system can actually kill your funding potential. And what she doesn't say here is not funding, because typical funders would actually realize what's actually happening and that you're profitable. And even a true alternative would still see your financials. But okay, let's run through it. So the trend sounds smart, but isn't. Okay, feels organized, sounds financially disciplined because it is. In reality, 5 account does the opposite of what they need. You're right. It creates fragmented cash flow, distorted financial optics, and a funding nightmare. Fragmented cash flow. So by understanding exactly where your money's going and how it should be used, that's fragmented. Okay. Distorted financial optics. Actually, it gives you very clear optics in what's happening in your business because you're actually understanding even when you log into your bank, how much money's for you, how much money's for the tax, and how much money's for operating expenses for you to actually spend. So how is that distorted? Feels like it's really clarifying what's actually to be used in your funding in your cash balance. But let's keep going. And a funding nightmare. I would be glad to hear, um, from an actual funder, right, why this is a nightmare. Because all you're doing is you're actually, as I said in the video yesterday, you're actually creating a more clearer and more educated business owner who can actually pay back their loans, which actually makes them a better business to invest your loans in. So now I guess that I don't know, we'll see. Maybe it gets better. So fragmented cash flow, red flags for lenders. Your business's primary bank account tells the story of your financial health, consistency, stability, daily balance. Right. But again, one thing to say is this isn't lenders, all lenders. It fails to say here alternative lenders, but let's keep going. When you scatter your cash across multiple profit and growth accounts, you break that story. You're right. You break that story. You break the fact that you want to set profit aside and not be calculated into your alternative funding options. Right. Your operating account looks weak, your average daily balances drops, and your financial activity appears unstable. Again, let's jump into this real quick. Um, when you segregate your money into profit and potential growth reserves, good, because you don't want them to be looking at that balance to be loaning off of. Otherwise, you're giving that money away. You want it set aside. Okay. To funders, she says that equals risk. So it equals risk when your business that you're potentially lending a loan to has tax savings, has profit savings. I'm not understanding it, but that's just part one. Let's Number two, the illusion of control. Having multiple labeled accounts feels organized, but doesn't fix your cash flow. Real financial control comes from cash flow forecasting, expense timing, revenue cycle analysis, capital leverage strategy. You're right. And listen, as part of this, not once have we ever said that our system, right? We're not trying to go from zero to hero. Like the idea is that you're having a system in place. You then create the flow of getting from where you are today to where you need to be. And I'll agree, absolutely. Cash flow forecasting, something that we do as part of the program, mandatory. You have to understand where you're going. I've said that all the time. Expense timing. Hmm. When you know what's actually in your operating account for operating expenses, you get to plan more accordingly. So you get to plan your expenses when your income's coming in. Perfect. Revenue cycle analysis. Absolutely. This has nothing to do with the profit first methodology. And then capital leverage strategy. Well, to me, anything that includes a capital leverage strategy that involves alternative options isn't a successful business model, considering the fact that you're giving away sometimes 30, 40, 50% interest that turn into 300% APRs over the life of that loan. I don't know how that could be thrown in there. But you're right. You need to have a positive capital leverage strategy. And I think, using actual long-term business loans that are meant to be, typical 8 to 10% interest APRs that are used for actual uses that actually provide a ROI to a business, that should be a good capital leverage strategy. You're right. Not taking alternative funding options to pay for payroll that's already happened, that's not going to give you an ROI. Let's see what number three is. The compliance and complexity problem. Every transfer between accounts shows up on your bank statements. You're right. Perfect. To lenders' algorithms. Now, remember, lenders means alternative lenders here. Those can look like round tripping or cash recycling. Both are red flags. Round tripping, never even heard of that word, but I'd love to hear the definition of it. So, future Dave here editing this video and did a little research on round tripping. And according to the Wall Street Journal, round tripping is a form of bartering that involves a company selling an unused asset to another company while at the same time agreeing to buy back the same or similar assets at about the same price. When you're transferring money from your income account to any of your other accounts within your same business, this would not apply in this situation. So, but let's go back to the video. And cash recycling. That's funny because cash recycling means the funds would have to go from one to another, right? But here you're going from one income account once into your actual funding uses, which are then spent out in the appropriate fashions. But I'd love to hear how that's red flags. Messy internal movement. It's not internal. It's actually it's automated, so it's not really messy at all. Especially when you follow your rollout plan developed with your profit first professional, or if you do it yourself, you follow your plan. Nothing messy about it. And once your business is tagged as unstable, it can take months of consistent statements to build. Listen, we've talked about this already. Anytime that a business has cash reserves set up for profit, growth, and taxes, nobody in an actual funding situation is going to look at that business and say, you know what, you're unstable. You have money set aside for your taxes. So when a tax man comes, you can pay it. You also have money set aside for potential growth. You are so unstable. I don't think I want to give you my alternative loan. Good, because most of that money would be gone if I took it from you. Part four, profit isn't something you move. It's something you earn. Here's the problem with this. Move 1% into a profit account is not how you build a healthy business. You're right. It's a start. The idea of putting profit first by taking that 1% off the top and putting it in a profit account is exactly something that you need to do, right? Because you have earned it. You're right. Thanks for putting that out there. You have earned profit. You have also earned your tax savings. You have also earned a little bit of your owner's pay. So by putting that first, what you do first gets done. What you put last becomes forgotten, just like profit becomes forgotten. If you wait for it to be last and whatever's at the end of the year is your profit. That's not how it works. If you put it first, it's guaranteed. That 1% in your profit account and you never spend it is profit. That's the point of it. Profit isn't about parking money. It's about strategic efficiency. It comes from margin control. Yeah, you're right. That's why we look at pricing. That's why we look at expenses, because that helps your margins. Perfect. Thanks for strengthening my my argument here. Optimize operations and leverage, not from renaming where your dollar sit. It's actually because if your dollar, again, if your dollar sits there, it's profit because it's not getting spent. Yes, and it's not about renaming where your dollar sit because it's not where you're not spending that money, right? That's the idea. That money doesn't get spent for the business. It's profit. It sits there to grow as a reserve. So this is why you, as a business owner, if you're looking to set up your business for strength, you have to put your profit first. You have to put it in a separate account because when you look at it in one business, one account, you don't know what's for tax. You don't know what's for profit. You should not be trying to set your business up to be successful for alternative funding. That's all I'm going to say. And then she's got a couple other sections here. So let's kind of run through and finish this article and then we can kind of go. What fundable businesses actually do. Okay, this is interesting. And when we say fundable, let's rephrase this. Alternative fundable businesses actually do. They primary bank account, right, where all their income and expenses live here. Perfect. So that way they can loan you a loan on more money than you actually want. Your tax reserve account keeps you compliant without clouding your operating. That's funny because that's part of one of the 5 accounts. Accurate bookkeeping and cash flow forecasting. Perfect. We do all of that as well. It's perfect. You need to have accurate bookkeeping and cash flow forecasting. Bookkeeping is your historical scorecard, while cash flow forecasting actually lets you know where you're going to be in all of your cash in the future. And the idea here is that you want to be, and when you're using profit first, you can actually forecast out each one of those 5 items. And if you have other goals and everything that you're trying to reach, you can create and customize that system to yourself. And a capital strategy plan. Knowing when to use internal cash versus external funds builds leverage, not limits. You're right. And what's funny is that I would never suggest that any capital strategy, as I just said earlier, should include any sort of alternative funding options. If you think of alternative funding, if you have to revenue factor any of your money, it's like saying, I need $10,000 today, and over the next 6 months, you're going to pay back 15. Well, let's think about what your cash flow forecast looks like. You get $10,000 today. Boom. Yes. Plus 10K. But you're paying out 15 over the next 3 to 6 months. You just actually took out $5,000 out of your future cash flows. So you're right. Let's talk about cash flow forecasting. Not going to happen. Alternative funding risks your future cash flow. It's just like a payday loan. And personal payday loans, typically somebody who starts taking a payday loan has to take 8 or 9 to 10 refinances of that payday loan before they ever are able to break free or they default. It destroys your future cash flow. Alternative funding is the same in the business world. If you have to factor a 50% payback for a 3 or a 6 month loan, that APR is now becoming 200-300%. It doesn't do you any favors. So setting your business up properly the first time or correcting what's already been done is the only way that you're going to be able to break free. Yes, it's not going to happen overnight. Nothing ever does. But when you start putting the habits and the system in place for you to manage your business better, that's the only way out of it. Taking alternative funds is not the solution. And yes, you should have a capital strategy plan. Every successful business does, but none of it that I have been a part of, every single debt plan that I've been a part of, I've been a part of $1 million companies, $15 million companies, and $150 million companies. Not one of them ever had a capital strategy plan that involved alternative funding. Now let's close it out. Let's see what she's got to say. 90% of small businesses can't qualify for traditional bank loans. Alternative capital exists for the other 90%. So what she's trying to say, right, is that their focus is that 90% of small businesses do not qualify for alternative funding. I'm going to guess that that percentage rate is incorrect. Hey there, future Dave again. So happened to do a quick research on this as I was editing, and it's only about 22% of businesses that are completely denied for typical business funding, and another 28% typically get a partial approval. So it's more like the opposite of what she's saying in this article, saying that 90% of businesses don't qualify for traditional funding. I'm seeing with this initial search is about 78% at least qualify for some sort of typical traditional funding. So that last statistic is definitely misleading. It's definitely not 90% that don't qualify. It's more or less like only like 20% but businesses don't qualify for some sort of traditional financing. So yeah, just wanted to disprove that one too. Incorrect. Because if you have a personal guarantee, you can get a personal loan for your business. So let's not focus on that. Alternative capital exists for the other 90%, but it relies on one thing, clarity. That's funny because everything that you want them in alternative funding to do in their business doesn't give them clarity in what's theirs, what's tax, what's profit, what's savings. All you want is one big account that all their money sits in so that you can give them a bigger loan than they should actually take or qualify for so that you can destroy their future cash flow. Because if you only looked at the money that went into the operating account and that was the only bank account that they wanted to get a loan on, you would probably tell them no when they're trying to be smart. Because if you just give a loan on your operating account, at least then, you have the ability to possibly pay that off, even though it still destroys your credit. Or sorry, not destroys your credit, but it destroys your future cash flows. So, final word, Billy, because systems don't make you fundable, strategy does. It's funny because when strategy is built into systems, that's an interesting concept. Let's build strategy into your system. That's exactly how it's done. But we're not going to build your strategy around making sure that you're eligible for alternative funding that destroys your business. So I hope you guys have a great one. If you want to chat about your business, I'm going to have a link down below this video. It's $97 for 30 minutes. $97 for you to get a full rollout plan of where your business is today, where you should be based on the 600,000 businesses that have implemented Profit First successfully, and how you can get there from A to Z. $97 down below. And with this, if you don't feel like you got the plan and you don't feel like I gave you enough information in that 30 minutes, I will refund you that $97. It's a risk-free meeting for you to see where your business is, how you're going to get to the end goal of where you should be, and I'm going to give you the plan on how to be there for 97 bucks. I don't want you to be and rely on alternative funding. It is misleading to the business community as a whole to tell them that they need to not focus on a cash flow strategy, but focus on making sure that they can line up with alternative funding requirements. It is a disservice to the business community and small business community to say that, and that's why I'm putting out this video. So if you like this video, please share it, like it, do all that fun algorithm stuff. But until then, I'll see you in the next one.